The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here's your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Well, who knows? Wonderful situations here at the home office. Hey, good morning to you. Steve West here, Matt Nicholson, and producer John Myers along with you this morning. Hope everything is going well with you on this Saturday morning. Wow.
Yep.
Happy Veterans Day. Yesterday, obviously a little late for all of those of you who are serving or have served in any branch of the military. We certainly appreciate that. Your service to our country is amazingly welcome, no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people just don't, they don't recognize it enough. Let's just put it that way. So thank you very much for that. And we're trying something a little bit different here. You'll find out about it as we go along further. But coming up on today's show, we're going to be looking back at NASCAR Championship Weekend for both NASCAR's Xfinity and Cup Series racing, and a little bit of sad news from the NASCAR world as well. Got a first in Formula One and a first in, close to 50 years for an American team. Good grief, what else can we get into? Oh, there's track news when it comes to Indycar. We've got some NHRA news. We got some W Series news. We got some ARCA Menard Series news. All of that and more coming up on this edition of CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. 2 tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Well, let's get this thing rolling, shall we? We appreciate you joining us, as you always can, whether it's on our flagship station out in the Anniston area or their app. Don't forget about that. Yep. Or by CRN Live on YouTube. Plenty of ways for you to check us out, and maybe more coming.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have news, hopefully, probably around first of the year. In the meantime, we want to begin by taking a look at last Saturday's title race for the Xfinity Series. Dominating performance for what, well, very well could be one of the most unpopular title wins in series and maybe even NASCAR history. I mean, let's face it, after he punted his own Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Brandon Jones to claim the win at Martinsville the week before, Ty Gibbs came into the title race maybe feeling a bit outnumbered. After all, he was facing 3 junior motorsports cars for the title, but he didn't seem fazed by it or by any of the verbal barbs that were being tossed his way, most notably by Noah Gragson, who said that if he had the chance, he would dump Gibbs to claim the win and the title himself. Gibbs went out, claimed the pole, and then left everyone else trying to play catch-up as he led 125 of the 200 laps, claimed his 7th win of the season, 11th win in 51 starts, and at the ripe old age of 20, a lot of growing up to do, his first title in NASCAR. Gragson was charging hard at the end. He just couldn't quite get to Gibbs's bumper. How many more laps?
I would say probably maybe 10.
Okay. That would have been an interesting situation. It really would have been. But anyway, he couldn't, like I said, he couldn't get there, so he ends up finishing second. Justin Allgaier third, Landon Castle fourth, trailed by A.J. Allmendinger, Sheldon Creed, Riley Herbst, Daniel Hemrick, Austin Hill, and Sammy Smith in the season's final top 10. Gibbs, Gragson, Allgaier, Josh Berry, who did not have a very good afternoon as it all turned out, end the Xfinity season in 2024 in the final standings in that order. Sunday's racing began in Phoenix as well and, well, ended there. Spoiler alert. Cup Series decided their title holder for the season. However, before the race, Ty Gibbs, who was again slated to drive for 23XI Racing in the number 45 car, got pulled from the car for all we heard was family emergency at the beginning. The team tabbed Daniel Hemrick to fill in. We'll get back to that later in the news. As dominant as Ty Gibbs had been on Saturday, so was Joey Logano on Sunday. The elder statesman of the four, vying for the title at 32 years old. Logano claimed the pole, won the first stage, led 187 laps on his way to his second Cup Series title of his career. Ross Chastain, kind of like Noah Gragson from the day before, attempting to chase down Logano and was a bit faster, but just ran out of laps before he get there. We talked about that as well, about how many more laps for him. I'm thinking less than what it would have taken for Noah Gragson, because Noah Gragson wasn't as fast, or wasn't catching as fast, as I should say, as it looked like Chastain was toward the end of the Cup race.
Ross was cutting the lead down on an average of 1.5 to 2.5 a lap.
Yeah.
So he was about 1.5 seconds back. It would have been anywhere from 8 to 10 laps. Ross would have needed extra to make that a race.
It really would have been interesting to watch those.
Oh, it would
both
have been.
of those, truth be told, because Gragson, you could tell he had targets on his eyes, zeroing in on the back bumper. Chastain, on the other hand, he might have done a bump and run, but he wouldn't have done anything as malicious probably as what Gragson was planning to do.
Or he would have done a what you would probably call a send it to.
Sure. What did Joey Logano call it? Watermelon swirl?
No, they called it the Hail Melon.
Hail Melon. Thank you very much. Yep. I couldn't remember what Joey Logano had called it. But anyway, so Logano is the winner of the race and the winner of the 2022 Cup Series title. As far as the race results, Ryan Blaney was actually second, then Chastain third, Chase Briscoe fourth, Kevin Harvick, William Byron, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, and Christopher Bell inside the top 10. Your fourth Cup title combatant, Chase Elliott, cut across Chastain's nose on a late race restart and got some damage to his car. And while the team was able to make some repairs, the best it could do was finish 28th, a couple of laps down, well out of the running for any kind of a chance at the title. Final standings, Joey Logano, again, the title winner, Chastain second, Bell third, and Elliott first through fourth in the final standings. This weekend's racing shows the third of 3 sprint races for the 2022 Formula One season, taking place on Brazil's Autodromo José Carlos Pace Course. 15 turns, 2.67 miles long. It's in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Airing on ESPN News this afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Central Time. That will officially set the lineup for the Grand Prix tomorrow. As far as the qualifying,
A little bit of a surprise pole winner for anybody that has not seen.
yeah, we're going to get back to that during Formula One news. As for the race itself for Formula One, that is next up. It is officially called the Heineken Grand Prix of Sao Paulo. It's on the same track that we just talked about, airing on ABC tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central Time. And then finally, the NHRA is going to run their last race of 2022, crowning the champions in Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock Motorcycle. Don't forget, 2 weeks ago, Erica Enders actually clinched the Pro Stock Car title when they head to Pomona, California. It'll be the Auto Club NHRA Finals, Fox Sports 1. Remember, the NFL is the king of broadcast sports television. So Fox Sports 1 gets the NHRA Finals starting live 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central Time.
And a little bit of a teaser in qualifying last night. A speed record, national speed record, fell again.
Yeah.
Again.
And
Give you 3 guesses, and the first 2.9 guesses don't count.
I'm going to say probably a force.
Yeah. Of course.
When was the last, when did we talk? It was about what, 2.5, 3 months ago, tops, that we talked about. What is it? 30 some odd official Camping World Drag Racing Series NHRA records, and over 25 of them are held by Brittany Force.
Well, make it 26.
Good.
3.641
Hello.
at 338.94.
Yikes. That's in Southern California.
Uh-huh.
Oof.
Just imagine if it had been in Denver.
Oof. She could have taken off. Unfortunately, we're going to go ahead and transition and start with NASCAR and some sad news. Following up on what we mentioned at the beginning of the Cup Series race recap, we noted that only a couple hours before the Cup Series deciding the title race, Joe Gibbs Racing and 2311 Racing pulled Ty Gibbs out of the 45 car. He was replaced by, well, whoever they could find. It happened to be Daniel Hemrick. The only official word at the beginning was that it was due to a family emergency. A couple hours later, just before the race started to get into its pre-race ceremonies, we found out that it was Coy Gibbs, the second son of Joe Gibbs, the father of Ty Gibbs, had passed away in his Phoenix hotel overnight, within hours, literally, of celebrating that title with his son, his father, and the team that he co-owned along with Joe as they claimed the 2022 Xfinity Series title. Coy was, well, he was pretty much always kind of following in his father's footsteps, both in football and in racing. Born in 1972, Coy grew up knowing his father as a football coach, played through high school, went to Stanford University, played linebacker for them, actually led the team in tackles in his senior season of 1992, but he didn't go on really to play in the NFL. He would later get there as a coach. We'll get back to that. First, he turned his attention to Joe's new thing. He had started that race team, you might remember, Joe Gibbs Racing. He would work his way up into the Craftsman Truck Series in 2000, shared the driving duties with his brother JD, went full-time in 2001 in that truck, finished 10th in the points in 2001 and again in 2002 before moving up to what was then called the Busch Series in 2002. He took over from Mike McLaughlin. Claimed 2 top 10 finishes and runner-up in Rookie of the Year that year, but he decided to retire because he rejoined his father, Joe, who was asked to go back to the Washington Redskins. That's back what they were named that then, as the head coach, and Coy joined in as an offensive quality control assistant. He remained there until Joe left the team again in 2007. While Joe and JD concentrated on the NASCAR side of things, Coy began another arm of the Joe Gibbs Racing motorsports efforts, Joe Gibbs Racing Motocross. Actually built it into a title-winning organization in the American Motorcycle Association's motocross and supercross divisions, winning titles in both of those divisions. Coy headed that side of the team up. But upon the unfortunate death of his older brother, JD, from a degenerative brain condition in early 2019, Coy moved into another position within Joe Gibbs Racing, the role of co-owner. He and his wife, Heather, had 4 children, the oldest of them, Ty, then Case, Jet, and Elle. Coy would oversee his oldest son's rise up through the NASCAR ranks. As we noted, helped him celebrate his son's Xfinity Series title on Saturday night. But on Sunday, he was found in his hotel room in Phoenix, passed away overnight. The cause not released immediately, and I don't think we have yet heard what the cause of death was.
All but willing to bet it's going to be just natural causes.
Probably. And amazing because, well, we'll get back to that. Several honorariums throughout the course of the day. Moment of silence held before the Cup Series race in his honor. Several drivers paying tribute to him before and after the race. The race and Cup Series 2022 title winner, Joey Logano, who is a former Joe Gibbs Racing driver himself, even choked up a little bit in his post-race interview and dedicated his win and his title to Coy's memory. Coy Gibbs was 49 years old. J.D. Gibbs, when he passed away in 2019,
49.
was 49 years old.
Yep.
And those are both of Joe Gibbs' sons. I mean, that's... I've said this before, and right after Joe Gibbs won the third of the 3 Super Bowls that he won, I had the chance to meet him real quick, and it's why I became a Tony Stewart fan at the beginning, because as I knew that Darrell Waltrip was about to retire, I was looking for that new driver, and I happened to tune in to the Richmond race in 1999, and that was the race that Tony Stewart won, and I found out that he was driving for Joe Gibbs, and I went, you know what? I like that. So, just pure happenstance, almost like flip of the coin, became a fan of Tony Stewart that way because he was a Joe Gibbs Racing driver. I can complain about things like what Ty Gibbs has done, and we can talk about how Joe Gibbs Racing has effectively sucked all the air out of the Toyota racing room. But I cannot say a bad word about Joe Gibbs himself, the man, because Joe Gibbs was just a class act with a long line of people, took the time to actually have more than just, hi, thank you for coming, and shaking hands. It was short, but it was a conversation. Very, very classy guy. My thoughts, my prayers, and I'm going to speak for the rest of us here at the Championship Racing Network when I say our thoughts and our prayers go out to Gibbs and the Gibbs family in this time, because that's a tough thing. I can't imagine it. I know, Matt, you've experienced something of this. But it's a tough time. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
When we come back, we're going to get into some a little bit more lighter-hearted news. We'll talk about Logano and how he's joined a fairly exclusive club, and so is Roger Penske. Holy cow. We'll talk about the details in the aftermath of the 2022 season when we come back on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
If you could build your own dealership,
4 tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back into the show. Steve West, Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers with you. And after beginning the show on something of a down note with the passing of Coy Gibbs, let's talk about the aftermath of the Cup Series weekend and the title, because Joey Logano, in the process of winning the title, joins a fairly exclusive club of drivers that have more than one title to his credit. Won his first back in 2018, claimed his second just last weekend. And in accomplishing that, the 32-year-old becomes only the second active driver alongside former teammate Kyle Busch to be a multiple title winner. He's actually also one of only 17 drivers in Cup Series history to claim more than one title. And as for his boss, Roger Penske, Penske gets his third Cup title. Remember, his first one came with Brad Keselowski way back in 2012, the other two with Logano. Marks his 43rd series title across all the numerous series that he's competed in around the world since 1966.
That is absolutely crazy.
Roger Penske has created himself one heck of a racing empire, and I use the word empire pointedly.
No doubt.
Thing is, Penske has performed a first here. In this case, he is actually the first person to claim both the IndyCar and NASCAR Cup Series titles in the same season. Will Power claimed the open wheel title earlier this year, back in September, and he also, by the way, is the defending owner of the Daytona 500 winner, Austin Cindric, claiming that earlier this year. The only thing he basically missed out on was the Indy 500, and that wasn't by much.
No, not at all.
During the race, one of the tire carriers for the 17 car driven by Chris Buescher and owned by Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing was involved in an incident on pit road. He was actually hit by another car along pit road during a pit stop, taken to a local hospital for further evaluation. But Justin Edgell released later that day, that evening really, with no serious injuries, and actually flew back with the team on Sunday night. So that's good news, because we've talked about it. I'm going to go back to this countless times, because you got to understand what we mean by this. I mean, being hit by a car, even before we got to the Gen 7 car, was no picnic in the park.
Oh, no.
But you said these cars are built like tanks. Mm-hmm. And there's really no give in any way, shape, or form. So inside the cars, but for the pit crew, because, you know, remember the times when they were basically wearing cotton T-shirts and no helmets out onto the pit road?
Yeah.
Yeah, they ain't doing that no more.
No.
And that probably did help somewhat. And we talked about this last week in the fact that Jimmy Johnson has officially become a part owner of what is still currently, name change pending, called Petty GMS Racing. Well, Monday was his first day in the offices, and he actually documented that first day. And he reports that he came in with a list of things that he would like to help the team accomplish over the next several months. Again, there is still talk of that official name change. More importantly, maybe he plans to run some 8 to 10 races in a car that still does not have a number. That can still come later. I mean, I'm just noting that. I'm not saying that that's the most important part of the story. I'm just noting that's a car that still has no number. And now Petty GMS Racing is stating that's probably going to be more of a full-time car than what they had initially planned, because they envision this car to be somewhat similar to Trackhouse Racing's Project 91, kind of a parallel, if you will. In other words, a car that might get more track time than just Johnson's schedule, adding in some drivers that, well, we don't know who they might be, but it seems like drivers outside of NASCAR are certainly going to be given a whole heck of a lot of consideration to get into this car in those races that Johnson decides he's not going to do.
I could see this one being being more on the lines of where Marx's Project 91 car is more kind of cars for the world stage.
Yeah.
This car could be more of the set the stage for your open wheel guys in IndyCar.
Yeah.
They want like, hey, I want to give that a shot.
A little bit more of
give that a shot.
A little bit more of an opening for the IndyCar guys to do what the NASCAR guys have basically been doing when it comes to, for example, the double.
True.
Okay. Now I'm not.
That is true.
I honestly believe that what we're going to see is Jimmy Johnson will more than likely attempt the double, which means the car will be taken for that situation. But I'm using that as an example.
More the sense of the lines of the guys, something like
Finding an off weekend in the IndyCar schedule and saying, hey, listen, I'd like to run it, depending on what the race is.
Somebody along the likes of like Connor Daly running.
Yeah.
There's an off weekend. Hey, I wouldn't mind going to Tricota. There you go.
Yeah.
Entry list Connor Daly, 44 Petty GMS car. Yeah, I'm calling my shot. It's probably going to be the 44 car. 45's taken.
Think so.
45's taken. 41's taken. So you got 42, 43, 44.
Yeah. And they're all connected to the name Petty.
Exactly.
That's the thing that, and we talked about that last week.
Even 40 is.
That's true.
40's not out of the question. It's either going to be 40 or 44. I don't see Hendrick giving up 48.
I don't either.
But, you know.
I mean, there's cooperative and congratulations between Hendrick and Jimmy Johnson for this particular move, but there's only so much congratulations and cooperation you're going to do.
I mean, even a car like this, and I'm going to say even Marx's Project 91 car, it's that merging that gap in between open wheel and NASCAR to where it's got more coexistence.
Yeah.
To where there's that crossover.
And again, we go back to what we were talking about earlier with Roger Penske. All of this really is credit to Roger Penske because the Holman George family, the previous owners of IndyCar, they never really cared. They had no real use for trying to do anything in a cooperative effort with NASCAR whatsoever. And because I don't know whether it was because of NASCAR giving them a cold shoulder initially or IndyCar gave NASCAR a cold shoulder initially, but because the Holman George family continued to have control over IndyCar, that chill between the two sides remained up until Roger Penske bought in and he made a concerted effort to say, hey, listen, let's see if we can't take the two major racing series in the United States of America and see if we can't actually work together for the betterment of the racing community overall in this country.
Sure. No doubt.
So a lot of credit goes to Roger Penske on that. And I like you saying Connor Daly, but I'll be real honest with you when I think about this, because the only race he's scheduled to run at all this year, and considering how much fun he's had in the Superstar Racing Experience series, don't count out Tony Kanaan.
Tony Kanaan. I wouldn't rule out Ryan Hunter-Ray.
No.
I wouldn't rule out Marco Andretti.
No, not at all. And we could obviously get a return of Juan Pablo Montoya. Just noting. On to other news. JTG Daugherty Racing continues into 2023 as a one-car operation. Ricky Stenhouse, the driver, in the number 47. He's set to have a new crew chief. Going to bring in Mike Kelly. Well, I say bring in. They're going to bring down Mike Kelly because he has been the operations competition director, something he's held since the 2020 season. It actually repairs Kelly and Stenhouse as crew chief and driver. They claimed 8 wins and 2 Xfinity Series titles back when they were running for Roush Fenway Racing in 2011, 2012. Kelly takes over for Brian Patty. Where's Brian Patty going? More on that later. Schedule notes. Ready for soapbox moment number 1? How much did we say the inaugural tickets for the Miami Grand Prix were for Formula One earlier this year?
$1,000 a seat.
It's Formula One, Miami. This is the first ever, admittedly, Chicago street course race for NASCAR. Those tickets went on sale on Thursday. 2-day reserved seat tickets. Not exactly Formula One level, but not exactly inexpensive either. $465. 2-day general admission tickets went on sale for $269. But those won't be on sale at this time. Those go on sale at a later date. Only the reserve seat right now are on sale. Okay. Yikes. 2-day passes will get you into all the racing action, all the planned concerts. It does include taxes and other fees, but youch. That's one ticket. $465 for a reserved seat, one ticket. This is not exactly what anyone would call family-friendly pricing.
Per the website tickets.nascarchicago.com.
Ooh. La-di-da.
Let's just take a minute for fun here. Let's just see what this is. Total investment includes taxes and fees.
Mm-hmm.
For, like you said, for 2-day event access consisting of NASCAR Cup Series events, NASCAR Xfinity Series, and 2 A-list concerts.
We don't know who's performing.
Reserved flip-down seat with back. Total investment with taxes and fees, $521.
Ow.
Let's
Again, that's one ticket. So if you bought a family of 4, that's well over $2,000 just for the tickets. Forget the travel and the accommodations.
Okay. Well, let's don't look at that one right here. Let's bypass that one right there because it's so clustered up. Oh, premium hospitality clubs.
Oh, here we go. That ought to jump the price up.
Total investment, taxes, and fees, $1,417.
For one ticket?
One.
I guess we ain't taking the family of 4 to go to that.
No.
Unless, I don't know, do you know or are you related to Elon Musk?
President's Paddock Club.
Okay.
Total investment, $3,377. And last but not least,
Oh, but wait, there's
the
more.
suites.
Yeah.
Oh, the Congress suites includes 22 daily suite passes.
Mm-hmm.
Included is the A-list concerts, premium food and beverage included, access to pre-race driver introductions, private suite entrance, full suite amenities, HVAC, fully furnished flat panel TVs. The price is not even listed.
Ouch. Yeah, that's a corporate thing right there, boys and girls.
Why are we trying to make NASCAR into F1? You're running your core fan base out because we the one thing we said, we're taking it to a new market to get to new people. The way you're pricing these tickets, you're running the new people off.
Sure.
You're running the new people off.
Well, I mean, think about it. A couple of years ago, you and I decided to take a little trek over to Atlanta when Atlanta hosted the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
There was no way on God's green earth we were going to get into that game. We couldn't afford the tickets. We couldn't afford nosebleed tickets.
I wasn't even about to stand outside of where the security perimeter that was 1/4 of a mile outside of Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah. That's the Super Bowl. We get that. This has become this global thing. NASCAR is still a very American operation for the most part. No disrespect to what NASCAR has been able to accomplish in becoming what had been a regional southeastern sport into a national sport. I get it, but it's not a worldwide sport. Formula One is a worldwide racing series. Formula One can get away with that. There are people around the world who will pay that kind of money to go literally anywhere in the world and pay that kind of money. I'm not going to Chicago and paying $465. I'm sorry, $512. Once everything is included.
521 taxes and
521. I'm sorry, I got the two numbers transposed. I'm not paying $521 for a ticket. I'm sorry, I'm just not. To reserve my seat. And if that's the way it's going to go with, all the other taxes, tags, and everything for the general admission ticket, which starts at $269 but isn't on sale just yet, you're still talking about the better part of $300 for a single ticket. I'm sorry, folks. I don't know how many people, especially now, that can afford that.
For the now officially named Formula One Heineken Silver Las Vegas Grand Prix 2023.
Which, by the way, congratulations to them for getting, oh gosh, what did I hear earlier this week? Just on the debut of, basically it was like a premiere that announced the name and the beginning of the selling of tickets. Mm-hmm. They got about 5,000 people there.
Yeah.
That ain't bad.
Which one do y'all think is cheaper? The 3-day ticket to Las Vegas F1 race or the Cup race at Chicago?
Initially, I would want to say Chicago. But the sad thing is we're probably going to find out that it's probably Formula One.
Formula One is cheaper.
Think about that.
Here's the kicker to this. 3-day includes all-inclusive food and non-alcoholic beverages. Ticket
This is
permits
Formula One race.
the Formula One.
Okay.
Permits access to the MSG Sphere Zone.
Not even sure what that is.
This is a general admission, standing room only ticket for $500 for 3 days. Your grandstand seats, 3 days, $2,000.
Yeah.
If we want the PH1 Skybox shared hospitality 4-day seat, $10,000.
Yeah, Formula One's going to get expensive for you, and I've seen renditions of some of the grandstands because, again, they're going to use part of the Las Vegas Strip to run this. We should be doing this in Formula One news, but it's comparing tickets with NASCAR, so what the heck.
Yeah.
But I saw a rendition. They're going to put grandstands up right in front of the Bellagio, in front of the fountains.
Right.
I can't imagine how much those tickets will cost. Probably going to be about what you're talking about. And finding a hotel room in Las Vegas, don't even look for one along the Strip, especially any hotel that has an oversee of any part of the race course. Ouch. We'll talk about other scheduling notes because the TV times for the 2023 Cup Series season have been released between Fox and NBC, so we'll talk about that schedule coming up in just a bit. We also want to talk about how the 2023 series season will kick off with a first for NASCAR. Yeah, that's right. They're going to be in Southern California again with the Busch Light Clash, but there's something else that they're going to do for the first time ever.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. 2 tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back into the show. The trio here, Steve West, Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers. We're talking scheduling in the Cup Series. We just talked about tickets for the first ever Chicago street race officially on sale. 2-day reserve tickets for $65. Once everything is all done and processed, $521. Ouch. As for the other scheduling note, the television times for the 2023 Cup Series season have been released.
Now to the T-Box.
Yep, between Fox and NBC. 11 races set to air on the Fox network, including the Busch Light Clash. That's an 8 p.m. Eastern start time Sunday, February the 8th. 2 weeks later, Daytona 500, 2:30 p.m. start February the 19th. The Bristol Dirt Race, yeah, it's back on dirt. Prime time Easter show once again, 7 p.m. Eastern time, start time. Talladega in the spring comes up April the 23rd. All times are Eastern, by the way. That'll be a 3 p.m. start. Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte, obviously evening and tonight, Sunday night, May 28th, 6 p.m. Eastern start time. Their final airing for Fox will be at Sonoma Raceway. Gets rolling 3:30 p.m. Eastern on June 11th. Those races not on Fox obviously will air on Fox Sports 1. NBC goes up from 9 to 10 Cup Series races on the main network next year, so at least they're starting to get something of a clue. Those races not airing on the main network of NBC will air on USA. The ones that'll air on NBC do include Nashville Superspeedway in prime time, 7 p.m. Eastern, June 25th. Night race in Nashville.
On Sunday night. Why?
Chicago Street Race afternoon into evening time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern on July 2nd. Most people probably will get the 3rd off just for the holiday. Maybe. We'll see. Indy Road Course starts 2:30 p.m. Eastern, August the 13th. Daytona regular season finale, obviously a night race, 7 p.m. Eastern, start on Sunday, August the 26th. First 4 playoff races go to USA. First 4 playoff races go to USA. But the final 6 will all air on NBC. Starts with Talladega, October 1st, 2 p.m. Eastern. The title crowning race, Phoenix, once again, 3 p.m. Eastern time, start on Sunday, November the 5th. As we noted, Bristol Dirt's a night race. The NASCAR All-Star Race, North Wilkesboro, 8 p.m. Eastern on May 21st is a prime time. Coca-Cola 600 Nashville Superspeedway, Atlanta, July 9th. That's a 7 p.m. Eastern time slot. We talked about Daytona. Darlington, 6 p.m. Eastern, September 3rd. Bristol Fall Race, September the 16th, 7:30 p.m. start. So all of those are going to be your primetime races throughout the course of the year for the Cup Series. Okay. NBC, as noted, going to put 10 series events on the main network, meaning an even split because they get 20 races in all. The other 10 go to USA. Fox Sports getting 19 Cup events, including the Busch Light Clash, the dual races, and the All-Star Race. And 11 of those are going to air on the main Fox network. So Fox still has the bias towards the main broadcast network, whereas NBC still feels like their cable side is more important. I don't know. Now that you're set up, ball's on the tee, here's the driver, ladies and gentlemen, Matt Nicholson.
The event next year that is, well, not arguably, it is the hardest ticket to overcome in probably the last 25 years.
Okay.
For the ones that aren't going to be able to make it, we're putting the All-Star Race at North Wilkesboro on FS1.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, we're bringing back one of the most historic tracks in all of NASCAR.
Secondly, and I'm pretty sure I speak for this guy over here too, in my Saturday morning, weekly Saturday morning letter, this time it goes to Dear Fox. Have we not learned our lesson at Talladega yet? Because if there is any hints of a delay after that green flag drops, guess what comes into play here in the state of Alabama? Darkness. Have we not learned our lesson yet?
Yeah, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time start for the springtime race.
Why are we starting a race in April at 2 o'clock. Fall race? Great. I'll take a 1 o'clock start all day long.
Sure.
That means I'm at home before dark. He is too.
Yeah. Makes me a happy guy.
Why do we have on Sunday afternoon, and you say probably what, the Chicago's probably what, 3rd largest city in the U.S. ish?
Yeah, the metro area is. Makes it the 3rd largest.
Why are we starting a race at 4:30 on Sunday afternoon in the 3rd largest city in the United States? In the middle of downtown.
No idea. No idea. You're forcing people who are traveling to Chicago to take the day off the next day. They might have already done it, maybe. But there are people who would like to be able to get back home later that night. And Chicago has 2 major airports that are hubs for just about all the airlines, which means they could easily go to O'Hare or go to Midway and fly home.
Yeah.
But instead, you're going to set them up for a 4:30 local time, Chicago time start, that in a race that's going to last at least 2.5 hours.
At least, yeah. At least.
So now we're talking 7-ish,
Give or take.
maybe later. How many people are really going to want to fly home at that point? There are people that are going to do it, don't get me wrong.
Not through O'Hare, you're not.
But how many people are really going to want to try that?
Even Midway.
How many people are really going to want to try that?
Why? And you cannot tell me, because me and him have heard discussions between television broadcast partners and tracks.
Yes, we have.
Why are we running a Sunday night race at Nashville?
I don't really know.
That facility can, with absolute ease, handle a doubleheader
Oh, heck yeah.
in the same day.
Mhm.
Why don't we run? Hey, here's an idea, Sam Flood at NBC, because we know television calls the shots on these start times.
Oh, yeah.
NASCAR virtually has no say in the start times.
Not really, no.
Here's an idea. How about we run the Xfinity race at maybe, say, 1 o'clock on Saturday?
And then put the cup race at night?
With the Cup race at night. Run the truck race Friday night like it stays, which is perfect.
And I get it. We're talking
perfect.
We're talking June, July in the Southeast, but we've all sat out in the hot sun in June and July in the Southeast to watch racing.
Turn your clocks back to about 1997.
Not terribly long ago, all things being
July. Talladega.
Ooh.
High noon start.
equal. Yeah.
Call me in the morning once you experience that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it could easily be done. I don't know why we're doing this.
I don't understand why we can't go back just to one network. One.
It wouldn't bother me at all.
And my last point. Why are we taking what I would consider could be argued, and I'm pretty sure I'd have Russell Branham in my corner on this one. You're taking your most historic track, Darlington Raceway, and you're putting not one, but 2. One being the playoff opener,
Mm-hmm.
and you're putting them on the secondary network.
Yeah.
Why? Last I checked, when he and I were up there at the Southern 500 in 2019, it was on NBC.
Should still be.
It was on NBC.
But yet the first four, the entire first round, the round of 16 for the Cup Series playoffs, all going to be on USA. Sorry, I don't buy it.
Because nothing thrilled me more that day on 2019 to
Doesn't
see
work.
Kerry Tharp look at those NBC boys and say, "We racing tonight. We ain't racing tomorrow. We racing tonight."
It's happening. On to lighter notes here. Fans who want to vote for the 2022 National Motorsports Hall of Fame Most Popular Driver, you can do so now. To do so, once per day, fans can go to NASCAR.com/most popular driver. You can vote for your favorite in the Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series. Keep in mind, Chase Elliott's won the award the last 4 years straight. Before that, it was Dale Earnhardt Jr. for 15 straight years. If you want to make Chase Elliott for the 5th straight year, or if you'd like to see him unseated, by all means, I think the one driver that would have a decent chance at unseating Chase Elliott,
The pride of Alva, Florida, Ross Chastain.
bingo. He's the one guy I think that's got a chance. And I say that carefully because I'm not sure how big of a chance that the Watermelon Man could upset Chase Elliott.
And I went into that blind and did not know anything he was thinking.
As noted, the Cup Series kicks off 2023 in Los Angeles for the Busch Light Clash at the LA Coliseum. Second year in a row for that. We went over that earlier this year. We're not going to worry about it. Marks the beginning of the series' 75th anniversary, and NASCAR set to mark another first as well. They're going to enter a float in the annual Tournament of Roses parade, the lead-in to what has been called the granddaddy of them all, meaning college football bowl games, the Rose Bowl. That'll be held Monday, January the 2nd, as will the parade. The float, as we have found out, is being called Always Forward, will be a nod to the past while also looking ahead. The float will feature the entrance to the LA Coliseum prominently displayed and 3 racers, numbered 3, 24, and 43, going around with flags, ribbons, palm trees, and a whole lot more as well. Very much out in the front, the Diamond Anniversary NASCAR logo very prominently displayed. Also, the Bill France Trophy that goes to the Cup Series title winner right behind the logo, riding high for parade fans to get a look at. And going to prove that we can't do something without somebody complaining. When it was announced that the 3 car numbers were the 3, Dale Earnhardt, the 43, Richard Petty, and the 24, Jeff Gordon, many people wondered why the other 7-time champion was not represented. Why was Jimmy Johnson's number 48 not on the float?
Give it up.
Who cares? You're taking no disrespect to Jimmy Johnson, but when it comes to the grand scheme of things, who's the better-known driver?
24.
Jeff Gordon, whether you like him or not, is probably the more well-known driver between him and Jimmy Johnson. Sorry, Jimmy. As John has said, he's not sorry at all. Jimmy's not exactly one of John's favorites. Let's just put it that way.
But as a side note, because I do know that some of our comrades in NASCAR do listen to this show and watch it via YouTube Live, I know my way to Pasadena. I wouldn't mind riding on that float.
It would be a lot of fun. It would be a lot of fun. I agree.
Jenna.
Hint?
Russell.
Yeah. Let's quickly talk a little Xfinity Series news as well before we get to the top of the hour. 2022 Xfinity Series Rookie of the Year officially Austin Hill, the Richard Childress Racing driver, piloted the number 21 Camaro. Really good year. Won the series season opener at Daytona, claimed the second win at his home track in Atlanta over the summer. He's the only 2022 rookie to win a race, claimed 11 top 5 and 21 top 10 finishes as well over the course of the year. Easily beats out his Richard Childress Racing teammate Sheldon Krieg, along with Kyle Sieg and Jesse Iwuji for the honor. We noted that the Cup Series race times. How about Xfinity Series? Kicks off in Daytona, 5 p.m. Saturday, February the 18th. All of the Fox Sports Xfinity Series races, save one, Darlington, will air on Fox Sports 1. Fox is actually going to put the Darlington Xfinity race on Fox.
I can confirm. That is correct.
But yet the Cup Series NBC Darlington playoff race goes on USA. Anyway, then NBC Sports takes over. They're going to put 4 Xfinity Series races on the main network. Those 4 races are Road America, Michigan, Kansas, and the regular season finale for them at Homestead, Miami. None of the Xfinity playoff races are on the main network.
Hold that thought. NBC has 1.
I'm sorry. What did I miss?
Homestead, Miami is on the NBC.
I thought
For
that was
Xfinity.
I thought I saw that as the regular season finale. Did I miss that?
The regular season finale for Xfinity is Kansas.
Kansas, the regular season finale. Then Homestead, Miami. That's right. I'm misreading my own.
The regular
typing.
season finale for Xfinity is on
Kansas.
NBC.
Yeah.
The Cup Series races on USA. People, what are we doing?
I don't know. I really don't. Yeah. I wish I knew what was going on in the minds of the programming department at NBC Well, and I could say the same somewhat for Fox, but Fox seems to get it more right than wrong generally. NBC is just, it's like they're throwing darts at a dartboard blindfolded with the lights turned off. It makes no sense. One other note here, Mike Harmon Racing getting a new name. It will officially become, for 2023, Mike Harmon Racing with Gary Keller. Keller's invested in the team. Harmon said of the edition, quote, "I'm very happy that Gary believes in us. He sees passion in the hard work that we put into our racing. It's the shot in the arm that we need here at MHR with Gary Keller. We're looking straight ahead to 2023 with nothing but positivity and success." This year was something of a back step for them after we had seen them in 2000.
They missed quite a few.
Yeah, after we saw them in 2021 with Bailey Curry and Kyle Weatherman really make some progress, top 15s, even maybe a couple of top 10s, if I remember correctly. When both of those drivers left, they couldn't find the drivers to replace them.
Right.
That's going to be the key. And hopefully Gary Keller becomes that guy that can recruit the drivers that they're going to need, because I think the equipment is kind of there. It's the drivers that are not able to complete it. No disrespect to Mike Harmon himself.
Surprising that Gary Keller's leaving JD Motorsports to go.
A little surprised by that as well.
But my one question is this, Gary, can we upgrade Mike's hauler from the dually and the pull behind to an actual tractor and a trailer? Can we do that?
First things first. Get those drivers. Get those drivers. We know what Mike Harmon Racing is capable of doing. We saw it in 21. That's what we need to be concentrating on for 2023, is getting the 47 and the 74 back to that level. And I honestly think I know the team is capable of it. I want to see it happen. When we come back, we're going to turn our attention to the Craftsman, yes, I said it, Craftsman Truck Series. That's what I'm going to call them from now on, right here on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. fuel only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
All right, let's kick it off with the Craftsman Truck Series. Go over some of the highlights for the Craftsman Truck Series television schedule. All races, as they have for the past several years, airing on Fox Sports 1. They've got the sole contract for it. Did Fox get the sole contract for the entire year? Anyway, all the races will air on Fox Sports 1, except for one race. North Wilkesboro, not Talladega, as has been their tradition. But North Wilkesboro this time gets on Fox Saturday, May the 20th. Of the 23 races on the schedule, 9 run on Fridays, 1 on Thursday, the Fall Bristol weekend. The rest get Saturday action, most of them being doubleheaders with the Xfinity Series.
One Sunday race at Milwaukee.
There you go. So they're going to put the Truck Series race at North Wilkesboro
I'm going Happy Gilmore on this one.
on All-Star Weekend. Trucks get on Fox.
But your All-Star race gets on the secondary
On
network.
Fox Sports 1.
This makes zero sense. Why? You trying to boost the truck race over your Cup Series event when the Cup Series hadn't been there in going on 27 years? Next year it'll be 27.
And I don't have a problem with them trying to boost the Truck Series race. I think it's fantastic. But you set a precedent.
But what is, and please, if I'm missing the boat here, please, somebody please tell me, what's your money-making series?
By far it's Cup Series.
Why are you putting your money-making series and your most viewed series on the secondary network?
I mean, what are they going to air on, what was the date that I gave here, May 20th? So Sunday, May 21st. What is Fox airing that could supersede? I mean, what
know it's not football.
What stupid reality performance show are they actually going to put on the Fox network on Sunday night, May 21st?
Are they going to put baseball on?
I wouldn't think so.
Baseball would be daytime game. Fox daytime games on Sunday.
And no disrespect, but a regular season Major League Baseball game, which it would be in May 21st, does not get the number of viewers that a Cup Series race does.
Okay.
And this is at North Wilkesboro, which means a whole lot more eyeballs are going to be wanting to see this.
And the part of the schedule from June the 23rd to the end of the year. June the 23rd starts Nashville, which we know that starts the NBC portion for Cup and Xfinity. Fox, I'm begging, because it's not rocket science. We all know that y'all use the same camera angles, same ones that NBC uses when they're there.
Yep, exact same camera position.
For the love of mankind, the good Lord above, and all of humanity on the face of the earth, stop using the stinking remote studio in Charlotte saying you're at the track. Nothing drives me up the wall more.
We know that you're not. It's obvious. Sorry, boys.
And the one final thing. Why are we starting the season finale at Phoenix at 10 p.m. Eastern time? Why?
That's still 8 p.m. in Phoenix.
In Arizona.
That's a little late, boys. A little late.
Why?
Don't know.
We're starting Kansas Friday night at 9 o'clock Eastern.
To Fox and NBC open letter, we here at the Championship Racing Network
will gladly take your job.
Gladly volunteer our services as, at the very least, advisors, consultants to your programming department when it comes to putting these on the air, or you could just hire us.
To quote, one final quote here. I'm sorry, Monroe, but one final quote. This guy over here has quoted Ron White, the legend Ron White, several times. Does the managers own a globe? I'm going to ask you this question, Fox and NBC. Do your managers own a watch?
Apparently not.
Okay.
We mentioned earlier on in the show, Mike Kelly is the new shot caller for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the Cup Series number 47 car. He replaces Brian Patty. It's because Patty has decided he's going to jump over to Kyle Busch Motorsports. Remember, Kyle Busch going from Toyota to Chevrolet as their boss goes from Toyota to Chevrolet in the Cup Series, going from Joe Gibbs Racing to Richard Childress. Well, Patty's going to become the crew chief for that Star truck, the number 51, which Busch will run 5 times, and we'll have a rotation of other drivers. As Kyle Busch has said, including Cup Series drivers from Chevrolet piloting that truck this season. Patty's quite the veteran crew chief, been a crew chief in the Cup Series the last 14 seasons, racked up 6 wins, 9 poles, 131 top 10 finishes. The strong get stronger?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Brian Patty's going to be able to effectively go from the communication style of a Kyle Busch to literally any other driver just like that. He's got that kind of experience. He will have no problem being able to work out a communications aspect with all the different drivers that he's got going in. That is a great call on the 51 truck.
KBM might have just gotten a little bit more dangerous.
Like they needed to be, right?
Yeah.
And as we noted, we were talking about television viewing here, and Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports, period, between Fox and Fox Sports 1, releasing these numbers ought to realize that the more races they could put in front of eyeballs, the better off they're going to be based on their own information. They revealed the Fox Sports 1 numbers, and their numbers for what we're now going to call the Craftsman Truck Series increased year over year. Fox Sports NASCAR PR said that the 2021 season averaged 599,000 viewers per race. For 2022, that went up 5% to 627,000 on average across both Fox and Fox Sports 1. When you eliminated the race that went on Fox and only the Fox Sports 1 numbers were compared, the numbers only slightly lower, up 4% to 624,000. The more races you put on Fox, the more people you're going to get watching. Just saying.
The more you know.
Yep. Into overall racing here, and maybe, and I emphasize the word maybe, Nashville officials heard us railing on them for quickly green-lighting a new dome stadium for the NFL's Tennessee Titans while letting the plans for the more historic Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway languish. This week, reports came out that the mayor's office has come to terms on a pact that will see Speedway Motorsports Incorporated renovate and lease the historic track, which would allow them now to host NASCAR and other events once all the renovations are complete. The contract still needs to be approved by the Board of Fair Commissioners. I imagine that'll be quickly stamped. And the Metro Council, that's a little less confirmed for me. And then again, there's the Sports Authority. Yeah, they got to go through 4 different ways of doing this. Good grief. The plans were presented on Tuesday of this week. 2 public forums are going to be planned to get some public feedback. The neighbors in the neighborhood that bought into their house that was built after the track, and you knew that you were moving into a neighborhood that had a racetrack on it, do me a favor, keep your mouth shut.
And they have to turn their TV all the way up to 10 just to be able to hear it.
Final vote planned for January of 2023. There is no schedule for when the fairgrounds might reappear on a NASCAR schedule, but we do know this. NASCAR's president, Steve Phelps, did reiterate during the State of the Sport address on Friday before Phoenix, a little more than a week ago, that the 2024 schedule will have, quote, continued variation, unquote. The summary of the deal, as it reads right now, says this, quote, Bristol will hold a NASCAR Cup race at least every other year through the lease agreement and has agreed to make up any deficits in pledged revenues in order to ensure the bond payments are met in the event a race is not held as anticipated. Now, we mentioned Bristol here because technically the people that are running Bristol Motor Speedway will also be in charge of running the Nashville Fairgrounds. The planned renovations include new state-of-the-art sound deadening for those neighborhood people who can't stand it because they bought a house in a neighborhood with an active racetrack. I'm not getting over that. Modernizing the driver and spectator safety features, replacement of the grandstands, the new grandstands, seating capacity expanding to at least 30,000 people. The fairgrounds got itself quite the history. It opened up in 1904. It hosted the NASCAR, what we now call Cup Series, from 1958 through 1984. Some of NASCAR's biggest names, Hall of Fame names, most of them claiming wins there. Presuming that the Fair Board approves, which I think automatically will happen, goes to the Metro City Council. That's the one that I'm a little worried about. Then on to the Sports Authority, who I think they're going to be all good with that. And then it goes, once the Sports Authority gets the final approval, the mayor just has to put his signature on it, considering he already agreed to the pact, I would imagine, unless there are major changes, he's good with it. It includes a 30-year lease agreement SMI annually would pay, starting in the first year of the lease officially at $1 million. It would gradually increase by year 30 to $1.334 million.
That is a substantially higher number than what they're getting now. So I don't see any reason why the Metro City Council will not do it.
Between that and the fact that SMI is paying for at least half of the renovations there, yeah.
Yeah. 2, and we noted this at the SRX race this summer.
Mm-hmm.
You fuss about a racetrack that was there when you moved there. But literally. And I don't think John was here the day that we talked about this. I don't
You
think
might not have been, John.
This soccer stadium that is literally behind the front stretch grandstand.
Yep.
We drove down the street where the houses are to go around to the backside gate where we need to go into the track. What did we guesstimate? At worst, 40 feet, maybe 50.
I'll give them the credit and say 50 feet.
50 feet outside of the back door of some of these houses is the south gate to go into the Geodis Park where the Nashville soccer team plays. You're
But they're gonna
complaining
complain
about a
about the
racetrack,
racetrack.
but you've got a soccer stadium off your back porch
Uh-huh.
that is at capacity every time they play. And guess what's about to come up there, too? Concerts.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be twice as loud as the soccer games.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
Turn your TV up. Turn your TV up to 10.
There you go. Suck it up, boys and girls, or move. Let's see what else we got out here. 2022 Cup Series Rookie of the Year, Austin Cindric, expanding out his racing efforts in the offseason. He's going to run Nitro Rallycross at the Wild Horse Raceway Park this weekend. He's raced in this series before, back in their second tier in 2015. 4 wins to his credit then. This marks the first time that Nitro Rallycross will have a Daytona 500 winner in their field. Oh, and by the way, Nitro Rallycross will also mark another first with an active Cup champion, because not only is Austin Cindric running, Chase Elliott is competing this weekend as
They
well.
competed yesterday.
Was that yesterday officially?
Yeah, Cindric and Elliott didn't do so hot.
Oops.
Travis,
But hey.
Travis Pastrana won.
They were in.
Yep.
There you go. As for the ARCA Menard Series 2023 schedule, going to look almost like 2022. They're going to run all the same tracks over their 20-race slate, 10 of which going to be paired with the NASCAR Cup Series. Those 10 events, Daytona, Phoenix, Talladega in the spring, Kansas, both weekends for Kansas, Charlotte, Pocono, Michigan, Watkins Glen, and Bristol. 3 other races going to pair them with the Craftsman Truck Series. Those events are at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, Lucas Oil Raceway, and the Milwaukee Mile, which leaves 7 standalone races: Berlin, Elko, Iowa, the Illinois State Fairgrounds, DuQuoin, Salem, and Toledo. Toledo is where the 2023 season will end for the ARCA Menard Series on October the 7th.
Just backtrack 2 steps here.
Mm-hmm.
When I tease about concerts about to come to Geodis Park next year. The first concert in Geodis Park next year, Shania Twain.
Boys and girls, that will definitely be a sellout. One more racing note is about the World of Outlaws, coming out with a 2023 schedule that has some eye-opening items on it. 30 different tracks are on the slate, and 11 of them are new for the series. 6 races boasting purses of over $200,000 for the weekend. One of those is actually on a local level, as the World of Outlaws are coming right here to our own backyard, Alabama's Talladega Short Track. On the weekend of the NASCAR spring weekend is a $50,000 to win doubleheader weekend for the Case Late Model Division. Over the course of the weekend, it will pay out
$205,000.
Was it 205? I was thinking 202. $205,000 over the course. You think there are going to be some cars at Talladega Short Track that weekend?
If we thought Speedway Boulevard's a little crowded used to be, it's about to get even more crowded.
Yep.
With trucks and trailers.
We're working on We're working on a deal here, which will fill in John later, which we might not have to actually get out onto Talladega Boulevard until after the weekend's over. We're going to need that golf cart, by the way.
Hey, Coulter, need to borrow the cart, buddy. Or Jenna, get us another one.
Yeah, really. We might need one. We need 2. Because I would like to go see this.
This is going to be
go
exceptionally good for the short track.
And how many we already know that several drivers that run at Talladega Superspeedway go over, and they also run at Talladega Short Track on this particular weekend.
A few.
I'm thinking that number might go up a little bit.
That number will probably go up in a substantial amount. I won't personally. Got a couple minutes here. This may take me a couple minutes. One, I personally will not be overly shocked. The Friday night portion is split $4,000 to win features, which probably be a couple 25-lap dashes for $4,000 to win, which ain't too shabby.
Mm-mm.
I won't be totally surprised to see some people of the likes of Chase Briscoe. I won't be overly shocked if Clint Boyer drags his late model out of the woodworks. We know he'll be in town.
That's true. Kyle Larson.
Oh, you can bet. I will bet the farm. I will bet the entire land value of everything east of I-65 to the Georgia state line, that number 6 K&L Rumley Longhorn will be on the grounds at Talladega next year.
Josh Berry for Junior Motorsports.
Josh Berry won't. Josh Berry's not a dirt guy.
Okay.
I won't be surprised to see a Nice Motorsports late model down there.
Yeah.
Nice Motorsports has got a dirt late model now.
Yeah, I can see that.
I wouldn't be overly surprised if Austin and Ty Dillon drag one out to come run in it.
No, wouldn't surprise me at all.
Because I'm telling you, $50,000 on a dirt late model race will bring them out of the cobwebs.
This could be fun.
And with this being the largest event in short track history at Talladega, this is going to be exceptional.
Make your plans now. We're going to turn our attention to some straight line racing when we come back and get into some open wheel news, including some pretty big track news coming up right after this on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. 4 tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, we're back. Steve West, Matt Nicholson, and producer John Myers. Appreciate you joining us here on this Saturday, the day after Veterans Day. Once again, thank you to all of those who are currently and have served in any branch of the U.S. Armed Forces. We thank you for your service to our country. Baldwin Racing team owner and driver Krista Baldwin set to run a throwback paint scheme this weekend for the season finale of the NHRA. She's honoring her late father and taking on the look that he piloted in the late 1990s through his untimely passing from a brain aneurysm in 2001. It's actually a fairly simple paint scheme. It's blue over white. Has a wide white stripe down the sides, blue along the top of the racer, and a blue stripe along the bottom, blue lettering and numbers along the side. And where it's blue, all those numbers and letters become white. Krista was born and raised not too far away from the Pomona track that they're going to run this weekend and was closely attached to her father, who was back then an independent Top Fuel racer. Started the team with profits that he made from his own land grading business in Southern California. Loved drag racing since he was a kid, never missed out a race from his youth from his to his passing. His father, Krista's grandfather, known as Chris the Greek Karaminidis, took over ownership and operation from the team once Krista's dad passed away. And Krista convinced the Greek to let her get her own Top Fuel license, which she obtained just last year. Earlier this year, she took over the day-to-day operations of the team, and after this weekend, will have run 8 NHRA-sanctioned races, along with 2 match races. She has her father's old crew chief on board for this weekend as well, and Scott Graham.
That's cool.
Good luck to her. Hope she does well.
This one right here is even cooler.
Yeah, the story of Maurice DuPont. He has raced before in the NHRA, but if you have forgotten about him, we could understand, because the guy who relicensed for Top Fuel this week, Maurice DuPont, will be competing for the first time in 30 years in a Scott Palmer-owned ride. Backing from the boxer, Floyd Mayweather Jr., who we have talked about, has the NASCAR Cup Series operation, the Money Team. DuPont first raced Top Fuel back in 1990 on a part-time basis. He ran 15 events from 1990 through the 1992 season in a car that had backing from a rap star you might have heard from, MC Hammer. But he never won. Actually never reached a final, but he did claim a couple of high-profile round wins over drivers like Joe Amato and Eddie Hill. Well, DuPont is now 60. He chose Scott Palmer as the owner and the crew chief. It's not a big surprise either, because Palmer, a notable drag racing tutor who recently helped extreme sports star Travis Pastrana work his way into getting into drag racing, and more importantly, builds reliable racers and engines that are considered all but bulletproof. It's the way you want to be when you're getting back into it after 3 decades.
Yeah.
It's also the first step in getting back into the NHRA fully, because DuPont says that he now wants to start up his own operation, a multi-car operation, which he envisions at its zenith, covering 3 divisions, entering Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock Motorcycle. How much of that gets rolling in 2023 is still up in the air at this time, but he does plan to be a much more regular presence at NHRA tracks. Hey, go get it, Maurice. I think it'll be fantastic.
I mean, the way NHRA is structured, it's more financially viable to get into quicker than anything else.
It's true, but you still need the sponsorship.
True.
Speaking of which, Kalitta Motorsports and partner CMR Construction and Roofing have extended their deal into 2023. They'll be primary sponsor of Sean Langdon's Top Fuel ride for 4 races, including the U.S. Nationals in Indianapolis. Doug Kalitta gets CMR sponsorship for 2 races on his Top Fueler as well. Season opener and the beginning of the countdown to the championship race. That'll be in Reading, Pennsylvania. And they're going to be all year on J.R. Todd's Funny Car. They're going to take up a spot on the rear quarter panel. I should say not all, but the majority of the next season. That'll mark their 3rd year together. Well, TV schedules seem to be all over the place. We noted the NASCAR 2023 schedule, the ARCA Menards 2023 schedule. How about the NHRA? They released theirs this week. 21 events for the Camping World Drag Racing Series. 8 of them going to get on the main Fox network. The rest on Fox Sports 1. As scheduled, 2 events, the first 2 in next year's countdown to the championship, which have not been assigned which network they're going to air on just yet. There's a note on that. We'll get back to it. The season opener, the Gator Nationals, that'll air on Fox, noon Eastern, Sunday, March 12th. For the 3rd season, the first countdown to the championship, well, one of the countdown to the championship races, again, is going to get on Fox, and it will be butted right up against an NFL game. That'll give the NHRA one of their biggest platforms in series history. That goes back to those 2 races which have not yet been assigned. One of those 2, in all likelihood, going to be there. The one that was this year was from Maple Grove Raceway in Pennsylvania, and it drew the NHRA's biggest audience ever. 2.8 million viewers tuned into that.
Stout.
We know it works.
That is stout.
At this time, only 3 races are scheduled to not air live, but on delay. All of them in the first half of the year. They're going to be the 4-Wide Nationals at Vegas, April the 16th, the Route 66 NHRA Nationals from Chicago, May 21st, and the very next event, the New England Nationals from Epping, New Hampshire, which will air on June 4th. Those are on delay. All the others appear to be live. We may get into that more. Well, obviously we will, as we will update you with the schedule every weekend going in. That brings us to the Indycar series. They're deep into their offseason. Not a whole lot of news coming out of the NTT Data IndyCar series, but we do know this. Officials at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, season finale, don't forget. They've given an update on their renovations ahead of their 65th racing season. The bridge over the front stretch, gone. But it will be replaced by a newer, wider bridge said to hold more fans going into and out of the paddock area. In addition, the 11-turn, 2.2-mile road course going to get a new layer of asphalt. Trying to put that on the corkscrew, going to be fun. Glad they got the equipment for it. Monterey County, California actually owns the track and its grounds, which doubles, by the way, as a popular campground destination when they're not racing. These 2 examples are just the beginning of a planned $10 million renovation project, not all of which has been detailed. The plan is to have all these renovations and upgrades completed in time for the 2023 racing season, which is obviously much more than just IndyCar. They host, legends cars, historic racing cars, motorcycles. Yeah, it's busy, no doubt about it. Dale Coyne Racing has a partnership with 2 different teams, HMD Motorsports and Rick Ware Racing. And those partnerships may end up giving the organization a 3rd part-time entry in 2023. The plan is right now to head into 2023 with the 2 full-time cars, one partnered with each of the others. They're looking into whether or not they have the sponsorship and personnel for a 3rd entry for select races. Coyne recently talked to Racer.com and said this, quote, "We're waiting on Honda to see what they can do for our 3rd car for us. Thing is, only one car is locked in with a driver." That driver is 2022 rookie David Malukas. He's going to be driving the DCR with HMD Motorsports number 18. We don't know about the number 51. That's the one that Dale Coyne partners with Rick Ware Racing on. It had Takuma Sato driving it full-time last year, but it'll have a different driver full-time. Several drivers reportedly under consideration. That brings us to this 3rd potential car, the part-time entry. It appears to be an oval track only racer. Takuma Sato seems destined for that ride. So apparently Sato is starting to wind his racing career down. He's in his mid-40s, if I remember correctly. That car likely would have support from Rick Ware Racing. Sponsorship, we don't know. The question also becomes, could that 3rd car become full-time soon? Don't go holding your breath. There's nothing in the works for that at this time. In other words, could Sato drive just the oval track races and they find a road course racing driver? Kind of like Ed Carpenter?
Possibly.
That's it. The 51 only on oval tracks. Yes, sir. That's the plan. Well, the 3rd car, not the 51. I think Chip Ganassi would have something to say about that. And that brings us to Formula One. You ready for some history, boys and girls? If you've been waiting for something to really root about when it came to the Haas F1 team, you got it now. Haas F1 joined the Formula One grid officially in 2016. They did come out swinging. They scored points in their first 2 outings, but from there, things have been, let's just face it, uneven. They have no driver's title. They have not held a Constructors' Cup title. They have not won a race. They have not won a pole position. Oh, wait. We can scratch that last one off of the list. Because Kevin Magnussen, using some pretty good timing, helped his organization claim their very first ever pole in Formula One action. Where in the first few minutes of Q3, noting that rain was only a few minutes away, Magnussen got out on the track quickly, set a good time on his racing slicks, and then rain began to fall, and as it worsened, Haas F1 officials began to get more and more excited about the possibility. And sure enough, race officials called it after a George Russell incident where he spun off the track and couldn't get out of the sand trap. So Kevin Magnussen is the answer to the trivia question of who got Haas F1's first ever Formula One pole, which, as it turns out, is also the first pole for Kevin Magnussen as a driver. Set a new Formula One record. Dubious as it is. Longest time in existence before a team claimed a pole. Finally happened in his 140th attempt. That's the third longest wait for any F1 driver in history, trailing only two other drivers who claimed their first this season, Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz. It also shattered the old team record of 87 Grand Prix weekends before getting a pole for the operation. The old BAR team had to wait 87 times. Haas F1 had to go to race weekend number 143 to get their first pole. But they got it. Came at a very opportune time for the owner of the team, Gene Haas. Happy birthday, Gene. He's 70 today. Kevin Magnussen, also the first Danish driver to claim a pole, marks the 24th different country to have a pole in Formula One. Not bad.
As well as the first American team since the Shadow team of 1975 to get a pole as well.
Let's just say it's been a while.
Yeah.
The celebration in the garage was big, and the fans in the Brazilian stands at Interlagos went wild, acknowledging the milestone for the American team. If you watch the highlights of it, which I did, as Gunther Steiner walked across from where all the pit equipment was to monitor everything to go to the garage area. He had his hands up in the air, waving to the crowd, and the crowd, very loud. Really cool stuff. But now, this puts two types of pressure on the Haas F1 team. First, noting that while K-Mag has the pole, the exact opposite side of the ledger, the slowest qualifying time of all 20 drivers was his teammate, Mick Schumacher. So Kevin Magnussen starts the sprint race today first. Mick Schumacher starts it last. So first of all, what can they do for the youngsters? Secondly, the team has let it be known that they want to solidify their 2023 driver lineup before racing in the season finale 2 weeks from now. Team principal Gunther Steiner noted, however, that neither he nor Gene Haas have actually made up their minds. It still could be Schumacher, who has scored points this season, but Gene Haas himself said 2 races ago he needed to see Schumacher score points again before the end of the season before he would confirm him for the Haas team again next year, which, of course, has the rumor mill churning. It had been with Daniel Ricciardo, but Ricciardo said, no, I'm not doing it. So now we got the names of Antonio Giovinazzi and Nico Hülkenberg. Of the three, Giovinazzi is considered the longest shot, Haas wanting the stability of Schumacher or the veteran presence of Hülkenberg being the more preferable options. The young American-born Formula One hopeful, meanwhile, in Logan Sargent, going to end up having to try a little bit harder. But let's talk about this Haas F1 deal. Mm-hmm. A lot of people still want to see Schumacher in that car.
Oh, yeah.
And truth be told, I think he's probably the better choice. No disrespect to Nico Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg brings in a veteran presence. I get that. But the man's been out of Formula One for a couple of years now. He's only been a reserve driver, filling in a couple of times.
Yeah.
And as we have all heard, when you don't practice a skill, it kind of rusts.
True.
You can get in all the practice time in the simulators and wind tunnel all you want.
There's a big difference between simulator time, wind tunnel time, and then actually having your hand on the wheel and your foot behind the throttle.
With 19 other cars on the track.
Bingo. Bingo, bingo,
Mick Schumacher
bingo.
has that, and he has shown the promise this year. Truth be told, it really should be Mick Schumacher. But if Haas F1 is really trying to, while keeping their technical partnership with Ferrari, trying to set out on their own, I could see why they would go with Nico Hülkenberg, because that means that they do create a little bit more of a split there and say, hey, listen, we're going to start to work our way through our own and start to work our way down our own path. Mm-hmm. What'll happen? We don't know yet.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Time will tell.
Because, like I said, they don't even know at this point in time. Let's get back to Logan Sargent. He's going to end up, after the season is over, just in Formula One practice sessions, going to have 31 super license points by the end of the year based upon his added practice session for this weekend. Sargent participated in the FP1 practice at Mexico. He gained a point there. He was slated to take part in FP1 before the season finale in Abu Dhabi. If he met certain criteria, which is actually fairly easy to do, he would gain another point. They've added him an FP2 session, which was run yesterday in Brazil. And I don't have the times in front of me, but it seemed likely he probably met the minimum speed, so he gained another super license point. Why are we talking about this specifically? Well, we noted this a couple of weeks ago. He needs 40 to get his F1 super license. Going into the Mexico Grand Prix weekend, he had 28 before the practice session. With the 2 and now 3 planned practice sessions, He needed to finish 6th or better in Formula 2 final standings to ensure he would obtain that super license. The 1 point's not going to make a whole lot of difference in that. He still needs to finish 6th or better, but it does give him an extra bonus point over the drivers that are all the way back through, I want to say 9th, who have a mathematical chance of not only catching but surpassing him if he has a bad day in Abu Dhabi, the last Formula 2 race of the year. Mm-hmm. It can't hurt for him to have that extra bonus point, because Williams has said they want him to run Formula 1 with them next year. And as we mentioned on the show last week, at this time, Formula 1 or the Williams team has no backup plan if Logan Sargent doesn't get that Formula 1 super license. No pressure. Nope. No pressure,
None
Logan.
At all. None at all.
Good luck. Mercedes is down a sponsor. They have chosen to remove the FTX logos from both of their cars and all the uniforms ahead of this weekend. And it all has to do with two things. Number one, they filed for bankruptcy. And number two, they're under investigation by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, or as we call it down here in the South, the other SEC. Yeah, they're planning an investigation into the crypto exchange outlet for, quote, misuse of consumer deposits, unquote. Initial plans were to keep the logos on the car and the uniforms, but a team spokesman told media on Friday morning it backed off to that plan because of the announced planned investigation. They did say they would keep an eye on the situation as to whether the sponsorship could be revived in the future. There was a lifeline wherein a rival exchange, Binance, who, as it turns out, is a sponsor for Alpine, a competing Formula One team, could have bought out FTX, but that deal fell through, and the crypto market took a big hit because of it. FTX had signed several major sponsorships over the last couple of years, which we're going to talk about when we come back. Let's just say they were heavily invested in the sporting world. So filing for bankruptcy ain't a good thing. We'll talk about that, some W Series from Formula E Series as well. We got one more segment to go. Stay close.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back.
Hey, welcome back into the show. Steve West along with Matt Nicholson and producer John Myers. We were talking about FTX signing several sponsorship deals over the last couple of years, not just the one that we were talking about with Formula One and Mercedes. Reports are that they have a $135 million deal in place that would rename the Miami Heat's NBA arena to FTX Arena through the 2040 season. They're the official cryptocurrency for Major League Baseball. So, yeah, them filing for bankruptcy, huge.
That would be substantial.
We'll have to see what the other SEC and their investigation comes up with. This weekend, Formula One's third sprint race of the weekend of the season, meaning that despite Kevin Magnussen claiming the pole for the sprint, he's not actually guaranteed a front row start for the Brazilian Grand Prix. The sprint race will actually set the actual starting lineup for tomorrow's event, but Formula One has said they might change that formula since it's coming into being in 2021 as a way to kind of change up the format for some race weekends. What would change? Well, apparently, two-time champion Max Verstappen came out publicly criticizing the way it's done now, said that he didn't think that it led to exciting racing at all. So, this might actually end up being a situation where this becomes another actual, if shorter, race on those scheduled weekends. So qualifying would set the lineup for both races, assuming, of course, that the cars were able to race both events. Any further discussion is going to have to happen behind closed doors between F1 and the teams. But Formula One has said that the number of planned sprint events for 2023 will double from this year's trio up to 6, the last of which for this year, again, is this weekend. We'll have to see what happens. I got to admit, I'm not the biggest fan of them saying, okay, here's qualifying, but that qualifying is for the sprint race only, and the sprint race is going to set the lineup for the actual Grand Prix. Whereas you've got, in this case, this year, 23 races, 20 of them have the starting lineup for the actual race set by qualifying, and only 3 of them are going to be set by this sprint race. I got no problem with you putting a sprint race out there, giving the fans a little something extra.
Yeah.
I even have no problem with you putting some points on it. Make it a shorter race. Maybe cut the points-ish in half, because there are several of the points, most notably, if you win first place in the regular Grand Prix, it's 25 points. Well, you back that off. Maybe make it 12. Okay? I got no problem with that.
Right.
Give them some points for doing well in the sprint race. But if your car survives, and again, that's the key. If you got to go a backup car, you're going to the back of the field anyway. Mm-hmm. But if your car survives the shorter sprint race and you got the pole, Kevin Magnussen, you get the pole not only for the sprint race, but if the car survives again, and I keep making that a very, 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 very blatant point, if the car has no damage, in other words, you don't have to do any work on the car after the sprint race, we're going to let you keep the pole and start the Grand Prix, the actual Grand Prix from there as well. Because that's a lot of work that these guys put into it. Or in this case, yeah, maybe a little bit of luck, but it's not like the Haas F1 guys were slow when it came to Kevin Magnussen's car. He was top 10 or top 5 in each of the Q3 of the qualifying sessions. Right. He had a strong car all the way through.
Right.
I got no problem with the sprint race itself. I just don't like the fact that they tie the sprint race into setting the lineup for the next day.
Right.
I really don't care for that.
I really don't either, personally.
It was interesting to note, though, that both of the Mercedes guys darn near didn't make it to Q3.
I know.
That would have been big
I
news.
know.
Big news. Let's see. So we're done with them. Let's go to some W Series news. Yeah. Not a whole lot to talk about generally, and we don't generally follow them, but this could be big. W Series is that all-female racing series that the FIA kind of sanctions, but Formula One really hasn't closely aligned themselves with. They just wrapped up season number 3, and their 3-time and only champion that the series has ever had, kind of looking to change things up in 2023 with the latest rumor she might be going racing in Indy Lights, one step from going to Indycar. She admitted she has tested an Indy Lights racer, but she has no deal at this time. She did express interest in it and said she would jump at it if given the opportunity. Jamie Chadwick, Brit.
Worth a shot.
I mean, at this point in time, it doesn't look like she's going to be breaking any ceilings to get into either Formula 3 or Formula 2. She's still a Williams development driver, but it's not like they're trying to accelerate her. You got to start looking out for what you're doing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to, but Me personally, if I'm Josh Capito,
Mm-hmm.
or if that's how you say his name, I don't know.
Close enough.
Close enough. If Logan Sargent doesn't come through, Jamie Chadwick is not a slouch option.
Not terribly, and I think she does have enough points for her super late.
Yeah. If you win 3 straight W Series titles, I'm pretty sure you've got them.
Probably. Formula One officials, and this probably doesn't. Well, I saw an interview with the founder of the W Series, and she's out there with a big smile on her face and says, "Oh, I don't think this will be really a big problem." But I think I'd be a little bit ticked because, as I just said, Formula One has not closely aligned themselves with the W Series. And now Formula One officials have said that they actually want to start their own female racing series. They state wouldn't be a competitor to the W Series. They instead intend it for drivers as young as 16, likely using Formula 4 cars. In other words, on a level of racing with Formula 4, and then would feed into Formula 3 and up from there, saying the series could start as soon as next year, but few details have been noted. Again, W Series is not an official Formula One feeder series, but F1 officials recognize its place and stated that should their series get back to racing in 2023, financial problems under their 2022 race or season 2 races early, that they would be welcome to run alongside this new series since W Series is on a Formula 3 level and their planned series would be on a Formula 4 level. I think I'd still be ticked. Because
I would be too.
we're the if I'm within the W Series, we are the established, granted not overtly, but we've now got 3 years under our belt. Why aren't you backing us instead of starting your own?
I don't know. I don't.
It makes we've talked about the fact that there are decisions that the FIA and or Formula One makes that just baffle us here on this show. This is one of them. And I mean, Lewis Hamilton is one of the ones that came out and said that Formula One should have helped the W Series with their final 2 races of the year. Could have and should have. And I agree with that.
Did he consult Lynn St. James on that?
No, he probably did not.
Okay. Probably a smart move that he didn't.
But I would agree with him in the fact that, hey, it's on the track. They had planned to do it. You had agreed to open up the slot to allow them to race in the United States at COTA and in Mexico, which would have been their last race of the 2022 season. Mm-hmm. You agreed to do that, and yet you just let them go and die on the vine for a shortened 2022 season.
Right.
You could have done it. Now you're going to go and you're going to start your own racing series when there is one already in existence. Mm-hmm. Back that one.
Mm-hmm. I'll cheers to that one.
Then to the all-electric racing series.
Yeah.
Porsche officially pulled the wraps off their newest racer. The 2023 Formula E entry is going to carry their familiar red, white, and black color scheme. A redesign of the car, the Gen 3 car, the paint scheme taking on a little bit more angular look as well. Majority black along the sides, top of the nose. Then the nose having red accent lines going up either side of that black, and just behind the driver becomes all red all the way to the back except for the, I'll use air intake. It's a different kind of air intake. In this case, instead of sucking in air for the combustion of fuel and all that, in this case, it's basically to cool off the batteries. But either way, it's still an air intake up behind the driver. The battery, motor cover, all of that is white. Pretty good looking car. Porsche's about to head into their 3rd season in Formula E, but unlike the 2-year-only effort from Mercedes, who won both races and a title in that time, Porsche has yet to experience victory lane, much less a title. They're hoping that by bringing back Pascal Wehrlein, giving some semblance of, well, continuity, they're going to pair him up this time around with another experienced Formula E driver, multiple race winner Antonio Felix da Costa, hoping that that'll change their fortunes and maybe become a title-winning team. Da Costa knows how to win a race here in this series. There's no doubt about that.
He does. He does.
I think he might be able to say, hey, listen, based upon what I've experienced in these winning cars over the course of my years within Formula E, here's what you're missing. Mm-hmm. And Porsche seems, even though they're working very hard to get into Formula One, they seem committed, unlike Mercedes, to sticking in Formula E.
Yeah. But I'm like you. If you want to get to that level, you got to commit to stay there.
Sure.
And if Porsche's trying to put their footprint on a wider, let's use the term, a wider motorsports map. Let's call it that.
Sure.
You got to commit to it.
Yeah. You got to be willing to put the money down. And I get it. They've got a budget that has to be approved by the parent company in Volkswagen. But Volkswagen has said, hey, we're willing to put Audi and Porsche out there, which means they're willing for that significant outlay. Thing about it is Audi backed out of Formula E to then concentrate on Formula One. Whereas in this case, the smaller of the two, because, no disrespect to Porsche, Audi sells more cars on an annual basis than Porsche does.
Right.
You're spending a lot of money in comparison to how many cars you sell going out there into the motorsports world. I do understand Porsche is the sports car brand within the Volkswagen umbrella, but it's still not an insignificant outlay of money for VW / Porsche to go out there and race Formula E, and then you're going to want to go Formula One.
Mm-hmm.
Of which I did hear, by the way, that they are now open in the halls of Formula One and the FIA. They're much more open to having an 11th team join the grid.
Like sands through the hourglass.
You still got to get it through the other 10 teams that are currently on the grid, some of which really have a big problem with the idea of adding an 11th team. But if Liberty Media, the commercial rights owners for Formula One, and the FIA say, hey, yeah, we're willing to go an 11th team, that does really kind of lay the groundwork for Porsche to get in there, because I don't see them buying into any current existing team. I really don't.
Which a current existing team would give up any kind of a rights for them to buy it into it.
Yeah. I mean, the only one that was out there that seemed willing to do it, because they've done it pretty much over the course of their history, is the Sauber team. Guess what? They've already done so. We talked about it last week. They're going to become Audi in 2026. It's the current Alfa Romeo team right now. Haas F1 ain't doing it. Williams ain't doing it. Alpine's not doing it because it's Renault. McLaren ain't doing it because McLaren's McLaren. They're happy. Mercedes ain't going anywhere. Red Bull ain't going anywhere. There ain't nobody else. Sorry, folks. There ain't nobody else.
The only one I could even remotely see even considering it possibly, and that's a huge possible, Williams.
Maybe. Because it would get them out from under the Mercedes umbrella and allow them to kind of go out on their own.
Yeah.
If I'm Michael Andretti, and if I'm Mario Andretti, and if I'm anybody with the last name of Andretti connected with Andretti Autosport, I am on the phone with Porsche officials right now, trying to make an alliance that you can work up and present to the FIA and Formula One and say, hey, listen, 2026, Porsche Andretti Autosport, 11th entry. Do it. Make it happen. And then that way, it's not all on Porsche in their first couple of years in Formula One, and it allows them to commit long-term to Formula E.
Right.
See, we're problem solvers. That's why you need to listen to us. Enjoy the racing this weekend. Titles will be crowned in the NHRA, and we'll be one step closer to figuring out how the points are going to shake down in Formula One, because this weekend is their second to last race of the year. And then 2 weeks from now will be their finale in Abu Dhabi, and we'll have figured everything out by that point in time. And, of course, we'll have all that information for you right here, because we don't stop when the season stops. We go year-round here at the Championship Racing Network. So we'll be back next weekend. Hope you enjoy the racing this weekend. Enjoy the weather. In the southeast, it's cooling off, which means it's cooled off a heck of a lot around the country. Oh, yeah. I've seen pictures of snow in Kentucky.
And Fayetteville, Arkansas got hit too. And guess who plays up there today? Them Louisiana State University Tigers.
Y'all have fun up there. We're going to enjoy the racing. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next weekend right here on the Championship Racing Network.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.